Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
the legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU
The
strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
A beautiful good morning and a special welcome to another wonderful day. It's a bright day. The day is beautiful. The day is wonderful, and we are taking you global this morning. It is Global Morning on Global Television. My name is Ramsey Enoch, and of course, I'm not doing this alone because the journey to take you to the promised land for the day cannot be done by just one person. And I am being joined by my colleague, Michael Edikan. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Ramsey.
It's a beautiful day.
I just felt you participated in the U.S. election, and welcome back.
I told someone yesterday, I said, hey, come on. Prof, the reason you didn't hear from me is because I went there for some diplomatic assignments.
Absolutely.
It's so good to know that, the election is done and dusted right now. And Trump is the 47th president of the United States of America. A lot of people are putting calls across to him from all parts of the world. Presidents, in fact, are influential people. But then, what is in there for every other person? What made you feel a lot of people are interested in the election in the United States? I think there are so much to it, the economic benefits, the political benefit, and of course, other benefits that are attached to it. Then coming down to our own country, Nigeria, where someone was asking me yesterday about the take-homes from the election, Michael, and I told the person, I said, come on, there are 1,001 take-homes from the election, but then it depends on the angle from which everyone is saying, hey, beginning from where Biden stepped down for Kamala Harris, it's a big lesson right there, because in some parts of the world, especially in Africa, some persons will say, hey, it is my time to go there.
Me or nothing.
Me or nothing. It's either I get there or there is no election. Then they go as far as sabotaging the process. That's for some persons. But then, as soon as that thing happened from the debate, he had no option than to step down. Then moving away from there, we'll come back to our own country in Nigeria here, where the weather is already changing. While I was coming to the office this morning, you know, this weather that makes you feel like, hey, come on, Christmas is here. You know, no, I'm not saying this so that children will not start disturbing their parents.
You like it or not, it's just a few weeks to go. We'll be at that moment again. But I feel just that you said that the weather is already changing and adapting to the old-time days where it looks like this year's weather, you know, the Harmattan is really coming so strong. If you look at the fact that compared to that of last year, it's looking so intense, you know, the breeze, you know, and all of that. But it's also a weather for people to also be cautious of their health, because sometimes, yes, we know that during the rainy season, people still have issues with the rainy season. During the dry season, people still have issues about it. So you just have to adapt. You know, it's also a call that look at how you can begin to adapt into the new system already, because it's already changing the weather and all of that. It's also a time for you to adjust, do what you can, you know, also to survive within this period. But in any way, we just celebrate the fact that all of that marks, you know, the beauty of nature. You know, nature gives, nature takes, and nature decides. So at all time, we give it to nature, that at all time we feel, you know, we experience both sides of, you know, the weather. You know, at all time, we also have a consideration of the fact that we are blessed people. We are not that nation where we have one kind of weather that really be disturbing us and destroying us. So issue of flooding, we will not hear issue of flooding again, because the water will be drying up day by day, weeks by weeks, and months by month. But hey, government should also be prepared for next year's rainy season, because it looks that when it's dry season, everybody sleeps on management of erosions and all of that. So let's pay attention to this season, getting environment safe as we get to, you know, experience another season.
Very important, because if you want to talk about this season, also that you talked about the health aspect of it. You know, this time the breeze is going to be blowing a whole lot, especially when you are in areas where there is open defecation.
Absolutely.
You know, people defecate openly, and this period you see the breeze moving things from one location to the other. Communicable diseases will be spread from one person to the other, this period from one location to the other. So we need to be very conscious of all these facts. But then I think Nigeria is blessed because of the kind of weather that we have. We don't have that kind of weather that takes people's lives. And more importantly, it is that time of the year again where we have to sing some very beautiful songs. But then, I come to think about it, the way things are going right now, how many people will be able to actually live successfully, and not just living successfully, but then doing well this season because of the hardship? If you get to town, if you get to the market, get anywhere, you hear people talking about the level of hardship, what Nigerians are going through. It's now a song that if you start singing it, you don't even need to teach people the chorus before they start answering or responding to the song, because this is something that has affected everyone. If you start the song, before you know, somebody will come with another verse, another version, and the whole thing boils down to what Nigerians are going through right now. But the bottom line is this: very soon, everything is going to be all right. That's what we were told. And maybe possibly some of the policies will be at least become favorable to Nigeria. Some of the policies may become favorable to Nigeria. The ones made so far has brought us to where we are. We need other policies to be made to bring us out of where we are right now. And that's not all. As at yesterday, there was a lot of story making round about the impact of social media, things happening on social media, how messages are being passed on social media, especially messages that are not very true. You see some persons are pushing what they are not even sure of. But I think a lot of people don't know. Most of the things you see on social media are not true until otherwise verified. Make sure you research whatever you see or verify whatever story you see on the social media before you begin to spread it. And it's so bad that a lot of people spread the bad news. And the bad news seems to go and flies very fast. It goes very fast. It flies faster than the good news. What we should do now is to use the social media to promote the culture of Nigeria, our heritage, our endowment, our intellectual ability should be showcased on social media instead of propagating things that are not actually beneficial to the society and, of course, to the country. Let's go on a quick break. After this break, we'll return back, and on return, it will be time for us to take you through the major headlines for today. We will be back after this break.
And now a quick look to what the newspaper really has as big story this morning. Coming in, let's begin with the Nigerian News Direct. On the front page of the Nigerian News Direct, Tinubu NGF others mourn fate of Chief of Army Staff. Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja writer says Senate leaders, NGF others laud his courage, commitment to national security. He was an outstanding officer, says Buhari. Acting Chief of Army Staff Olayede hails the late Lagbaja as courageous and selfless leader. That you can find on page 3. But our hearts and prayers really goes out to the family of the late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Lagbaja. The rest assured of exceptional service delivery, Zenith Bank assures customers. That's on page 13. The fact that over the past weeks, would I say a month, customers of Zenith Bank have really been through a whole lot of technicalities, delayed transactions and all of that. And it looks that they have been out to explain the reason for all of this abnormality, targeting issues of some technical glitches that they experience. And of course, they are saying we have fixed it all. We've updated all our systems, and we definitely are sharing of exceptional service, and that is coming for Zenith Bank customers this morning. You can get that on page 13. I do want to also walk into the closest Zenith Bank branch so as to experience this exceptional service from them. We also have NCDMB pushes for FID week to boost investment in oil and gas sector. CNG adoption, 65 new licenses issued for stations, over 100,000 vehicles convert, coming from PC, NGI. That's authorities, regulators in respect to the CNG adoption. Issues of conversion has always been a concern, and what we have heard is that over 100,000 vehicles has been converted to CNG. Oh, well, it's still a scratch, because we look at the fact that all of these is not really impactful. I mean, some of these are not really impactful, to cushioning the effect of the hardship in respect to transportation. How many commercial vehicles have converted? What has been the price as the prices of transportation dropped from where it was drastically? Has there been a concern over how we can sustain this? Because it's not just about converting 100,000 vehicles. How sustainable it is? What about the centers? Are the regulators up and doing in respect to monitoring of these adoption? All of that is still topping as a major concern for as far as the CNG conversion is concerned. And we also have Makinde approves 80,000 minimum wage for Oyo workers. Kudos to the people of Oyo State. 80,000 moving ahead of the benchmark of the federal government, just skewed behind that of Lagos of 85,000, Rivers State of 85,000, and other states. Not just about issues of approval, it's about fast implementation, because just yesterday, NYC core members said, oh, government, the 77,000 naira that you had proposed to us, we are here to see it implemented. You know, from how many months now, we are still receiving 33,000. You know, payment to our PPAs are high, you know, logistics to, you know, all of those challenge economic hardship. You know, they had to cry out yesterday on social media and draw the attention of everyone. So it's still a major concern. Government implement, state implement, not just about coming out to, you know, give us an impression of how much you can pay. It's not just about how much you can pay now, it's about how much you are currently paying, not just about to pay, because the hardship is still persistent in the country. Well, Tinubu, Atiku, others, world leaders held Trump's political comeback, express hope for future cooperation on global challenges. That is on the heels of the 47th President of the United States of America that will be elected, Donald Trump. World leaders and President Tinubu have also queued behind other world leaders to congratulate and seeking the United States and Nigeria partnership in order to drive development. On the program this morning, we're making a very elaborate discussions on that, and we'll establish how these relations, what the U.S. really means for Nigeria, and the outcome of this election, what should be a lessons, what should be the joy of Nigeria, looking at the policies of Donald Trump, looking at the intentions he really has for the United States. What is the place of Nigeria in all of this? We'll establish that on the program. But that's all for the Nigerian News Direct. And let's get a quick look at other papers from Ramsey.
Well, thank you very much, Michael, for those wonderful headlines. While you were speaking, I was thinking, the NYC, the core members, do you know that some of them already had their budgets, what to do? Because the excitement was more with some of them. I could remember some.
We could imagine.
We were imagining, oh my God, from 33,000.
No, let's get to from 19,000 that was increased to 33. You know, just of recent, it looks that 33 would have been the bust, but you know, things have changed. Minimum wage is still a concern. So
now 70,000.
77,000.
But then I think they should wait. Because if the
how long should they wait? Transportation is still high.
If the federal government is paying other people, they should pay them too. Okay, because it's all coming from the confine of the federal government. So whatever it is that is delaying it, I think they are the ones that know. But then, if you don't say I am here, nobody will say where are you.
Well, government has said, the major issue is not just about waiting. I feel what the core members are really having a concern is that I think the month of September, thereabout, government said we'll start the payment of the 77,000 to core members. So you already triggered excitement. You already gave, you communicated hope. So you know how core members react to messages like that. So it would have been better. It was like a surprise. So and that also brings me to the concern of the current economic reality. Ramsey, it's better you surprise someone than making promises.
That's it.
Because sometimes you be in a very tight corner, to lead to the expectations.
This is it. This is the phrase: under promise and over. Fulfill
is a major move right now.
All right, let's quickly take you to the next headline for the day. This is the Daily Trust newspaper. On the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, I have some very striking headlines. Above the nameplate, I have this one which says Tinubu world leaders congratulate Trump on election victory. Then this one says 22 miners feared dead as pit collapses in Adamawa. Miners, the issue of miners has been in the forefront. It started from Oyo State, where we heard of the collapse of the building, where miners were actually mining and all of that. Now it's escalating to Adamawa State. I think something needs to be done, especially when miners are not licensed. And it will amaze you to know that these miners are not even Nigerians. They come to cause this havoc, and nothing has been done. I think one of the things that should be done, especially in the northern part, whoever that is mining should do the necessary thing so that it will not resort to collapse and death. Lives are being lost. The times are hard. Lives are being lost and all of that. But then I think we need to do so much, to to make sure things go the way it is supposed to go. Still more coming from the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. On the Daily Trust, I have this one which says a tax reform. A president should unite, not divide Nigeria. Bauchi governor is the one saying that. Tax reform. President should reunite Nigeria and not divide Nigeria. Unite Nigeria, don't divide Nigeria. That's coming from the Bauchi State governor. That's about the tax reform. For the tax reform, the president has made a whole lot of advances, but then let's see how all of this will actually end. Okay, the big story on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning says bandits adopt over 50 people in Zamfara State. Bandits adopt over 50 people in Zamfara State. Some riders to that story, 3 riders, and I will take them one after the other. Place 150 million naira levy on residents. Kill 10 farmers in Niger. We are working hard to tackle problem. Okay, we are working hard to tackle our problem. We've heard this over and over and over and over again, but then what is the outcome? What is it translating to? Like Michael was talking about speaking weak and the action is not forthcoming before we actually got to this paper. Same thing is applicable here. Don't say what you know you can't do immediately, because it triggers hope. And when hope is being dashed, there is a trust issue. So we should be careful what we say and what we do. Then the issue of banditry. I'm just wondering. I don't know when we are going to come out of this. Banditry everywhere. People can't go to farm. People can't go to their offices. People can't travel long distances. Nigerians can't sleep anymore with their eyes closed, because now they go into estates to kidnap people, which is not the usual thing that has been. Okay, before now, if you get into the estate, get into your house, you lock the door, you know at least you're secured. But now they even go as far as tracing people into the estate to kidnap them. But it's so unfortunate that this morning we're getting to hear again that in Zamfara State 50 people have been abducted, and the demand is even very high. This is so unfortunate because these abductors, they don't even care whether the times are hard. They go as far as demanding for a ransom of 150 million naira from these people. We're talking about farmers here, peasant farmers. Some of them are, you know, these are people that don't even feed well. If you go to the north today, you see a lot of people going through so much, you know, even looking for who to even rescue them from situations. Then you see people coming to adult people's loved ones and demanding for as high as 150 million on residents. Then farmers are being killed. One of the reasons why we even have shortage of food today is the fact that people no longer go to farm.
Absolutely.
You know, the kind of rice that we get from the north, okay, the Jamila rice, the very polished local rice that we get from there, people can't go to farm anymore. And that's why the price of just a bag of rice is hitting 100,000 and above. For how long would we continue like this? I think something needs to be done. So good. May the soul of the Chief of Staff rest in peace.
Chief of Army
Staff. The departed Chief of Army Staff rest in peace. Talking about Lagbaja. Then the new Chief of Staff will need to hit the ground running, because that office cannot stay one day, all right, without working, without doing the necessary things. All right, and that takes us to the other story, which says Lagbaja's death, top generals for redeployment. 3 riders to that story. The first rider says Tinubu Akpabio governors mon. Tinubu and Akpabio with governors mon. Fake meeting postponed indefinitely. A national flag to fly at half-mast for 7 days. Then More headlines still coming from the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Kano begins registration of foreigners. Getting to know, well, I think that's so key because of what happened during the End Bad Governance protest, where they said some persons who are not indigents were the ones who were actually carrying flags or maybe engineering some of the things that happened during that period. It's so good. In fact, as a matter of fact, every foreigner needs to be registered in any country where they find themselves. They have their means of identification and all of that. But then, I don't know how it is in this country because some persons are just walking. And one very saddening thing is the fact that some of these persons, provided their color is white, nobody even cares whether they have the right to live in this country or not. And the way some of these foreigners treat Nigerians is so appalling, it's so uncalled for. We've heard in the past where some persons have been maltreated. Just recently, we heard, I heard, it was a grapevine, I didn't research it. It was alleged that some persons just lock some Nigerians somewhere. They walk until the next day before they open the door for them to come out. So I don't know why people are being subjected to that. But then what will you say when the economy cannot even take Nigerians to where they are supposed to be? People can't feed very well. And more still coming, and this is going to be the last headline from the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. End bad governance protest. Borno minors still in custody. Defense lawyer is the one saying that, but we're told that they've been freed. I don't know. What's the difference? Michael, NSAS protest, Borno minors still in custody. I thought the president and the attorney general.
I think those were the ones that were brought to Abuja, on the arrest. Those that are still detained in other states. Recall that, the arrest wasn't just in Kaduna, it wasn't just in Kano, even some other part of the country, some arrests were done. So, in a way, it looks that the president's focus was just those that were brought to the court and convicted of treason, that those that have not still been charged. So, it's also a call that there should be an extension to all of that. A pardon, if it's a presidential pardon, it should be, implemented across the country. Let it be that those who participated in the End Bad Governance protesters and were arrested, they should be entirely free. But that those that are still being held hostage in some state, in respect to that End Bad Governance protest, which is still a major concern, because just as the vice president, when he was handing over the minors to the Kaduna state government, he said, out of the pardon of the president, the humanitarian side of the president, so let Mr. President also extend all of that, across other states, because there are still those that are still in police custody and detained the different correctional centers in some part of this country in respect to connected to the End Bad Governance protest.
If one person is enjoying the benefit, every other person should enjoy it too, because the same thing they did. So provided they are minors, even if they are not minors, everyone arrested in connection to the End Bad Governance protest should be released.
They should put the case to rest.
Then the case should go to rest because it's normal. But then I think the president has done well. The attorney general has done well.
We applaud the president.
We applaud them for that decision. But it should be all encompassing and should at least get to every part of the country where these people. It's so good that the defense lawyer is actually crying out, because the presidency may not even be aware that those people are there. Okay, so now that they've cried out, please, if you have any state where these minors are still in detention, reach out to the president and the attorney general, and the needful will be done. And that's going to be the size of the headlines from the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. And of course, we will move to the next point of call as we bring you some more headlines from the National Daily.
On the front page of The Guardian, this morning, still having a very big story. U.S. decides. Low expectations, optimism around Trump's second coming. Well, a Republican may not agree with that, but let's also look at the fact that there are considerations too. This is the second coming of Donald Trump. His campaign was based on, I did this before, I'm doing it again. Compared to what I did, compared to what you have now, you have a choice to make. And the people of the U.S. probably voted for what they wanted. So I don't know how we may have the lower expectations and the optimism, but let's just, as always, pray for leaders, to succeed, for the good of common. And that's on the front page of the Guardian newspaper celebrating the United States President Donald Trump. Federal government calls for peace over Abia Akwa Ibom border dispute. That is on page 7. The current border disagreement dispute has drawn the attention of the federal government, and of course they're calling that our parties must put to rest the agitations and concerns and dispute among them in the borders. Obasanjo Jonathan Tambuwa orders Lord Obaseki 8 years in office. That's on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Federal government blames frequent grid collapse on DISCO's inability to offtake electricity. Well, that is another excuse given around. The reason why our national grid has collapsed for the 10th time just for the year 2024 is because DISCOs are not lifting electricity. The distributors are not circulating, electricity to all. I mean, we often hear all of that explanations again and again and again. But what are the regulators doing? Do Nigerians know what are the capacity that DISCOs have to lift? I mean, all of that doesn't really matter to Nigerians. The constant power supply is a major concern for all. We shouldn't at all this time, even when you've increased the tariff, be having issues of collapse, issues of a blackout in the country. It affecting business. We are trying our economy to grow, and all of that has continued to be a major concern because, the private sectors cannot sustain issues of diesels or fuel and all of that. So the alternative is the power that we have. Please, federal government, issues of DISCOs should be between the government and the transmission company of Nigeria and all of that. The Nigerian people really have a concern on how this can be sustained. And our own flood sacks rivers Anambra communities. Well, that's on page 4. Still a early warnings that those that feels all is over about flooding, all that glitters are not still good. There's still major concern that we must begin to pay our attention to. Oyo okays 80,000 minimum wage for workers. We give kudos to the governor of Oyo State, Makinde. Tinubu honors ex-chief of army style Azobi Atiku, government NNPCL man. Well, that's the few much stories coming from the Guardian. All of those other stories are within the papers. You can get to have more interactions. But just on our subsequent bulletins today, we'll be having all of that on the news. Over to you, Ramsey.
All right, thank you very much, Michael, for those wonderful headlines. Let's quickly get to the Vanguard newspaper this morning. On the Vanguard newspaper, which is after the Guardian, it says, for second time in 4 months, DISCOs raise meter prices by 28.3%. When we're talking about the fact that the grid collapse is as a result of some of the inabilities of DISCOs. They are busy. See, this is one of the things. They are busy raising the price of meter, prices of power consumption is on the rise, but then you don't get to see the power. Power is not available. Before you know, the power has been interrupted from time to time. But then you see the price of meter going very high. The meters are not even available. That's the problem. In this country, people don't face what is necessary, what is needed per time. This is what we should do as a nation. Do the necessary things per time. Okay, discuss, that's for you. Tinubu Akpabio, governors Obi Mon Escoas, Lagbaja dies at 56. That's the chief of army staff. Details read on page 7 of the Vanguard newspaper. Don't allow Dangote take over energy sector. Oil marketers tell court. My God. Well, this is laughable, of course, because for you to say don't allow Dangote take over energy sector, oil marketers are the ones crying. At least the oil marketers need to prove to Nigerians, all right, some things that will make Nigerians be on their side. The Dangote refinery, a lot of Nigerians felt, well, this is succor, this is peace, this is joy. Okay, this is blessing, but now it is becoming a blessing in disguise because this is not what Nigerians expected. We can't be getting crude, all right, from this country, refined in this country. Then we're buying as high as 1,000 plus. A lot of drama, okay, in the petroleum industry right now. I think something needs to be done about this sector. That's marketers crying to the court that they shouldn't allow Dangote to take over energy sector. I don't know why they are saying that. Then this one says gunmen abduct over 100 peasants in Zamfara. Catholic priest in Imo State. So the abduction is across the nation, happening in Zamfara State, then also happening in the East, Imo State. Details read on page 6 and 11 respectively. And that takes us to the big story on the Vanguard newspaper this morning, where we have this one, which says, U.S. poll, be president to all. Kamala charges Trump, be president to all. Okay, everyone's president you will be. Don't just treat some persons differently. That's Kamala Harris talking to Donald Trump. A few hours after Donald Trump was being declared, there was this speculation that she has not conceded defeat and has not congratulated the president, the 47th president of the United States. But it's so good that she is saying this, we are one country. No matter what, you have won. This is your second time in office. What you should do is be president to all. I think Trump is really going to do that. Then the writer to that story said, as Tinubu Biden, world leaders, others hail him. Everyone is hailing him, even Biden, who was the first person contesting with Donald Trump, is hailing him right now. That's good. It's a good one. Details of that you can actually get on page 15 of the Vanguard newspaper. More headlines still coming from the Vanguard newspaper this morning. End bad governance. Go after real culprits, not minors. Emir Sanusi is the one saying that, and details read on page 30. Nigeria to make investment decision on 5 projects worth $50 billion. That's coming from the federal government. Nigeria to make investment decision on 5 projects worth $50 billion. Details you can find on page 19. This one says court stop AGF, CBN, RMAFC, orders from withholding Kano local government allocation. Details on page 32. Zenith Bank reassure customers are following successful IT upgrade. They never told Nigerians that they were doing anything, but then the experience was something else. The experience. In fact, I know of people whose salaries were ahead for getting a month, 3 weeks, 2 weeks. In fact, if not that, in that organization, it's an organization that have a very good understanding and will they have to resort to other alternatives to make sure the staff are being paid, or else what happened from Zenith Bank actually crippled a whole lot of things in different systems at different levels. But it's so good that they are coming now to say, well, now everything has been successful, and of course, we are assuring customers of a very good treatment henceforth. Not just Zenith Bank, but all commercial banks should try as much as possible to stop subjecting Nigerians to unnecessary and untold and very, very inconsequential stress. If you get to the banking sector, you see the way some persons are being treated, then you begin to ask questions. This is my money we are talking about here. I deposited this money here. When you want to deposit, no problems. But when you want to make withdrawals, you talk about the hidden charges and you talk about the treatment melted to you. as a customer. But it's so good that these banks are also realizing the fact that customers have not in recent times been treated fairly. Now they are turning a new leaf, and it's good. It should extend to other banks and not just the Zenith Bank. This one says, this is from the sporting scene, Morocco 2025, Ekong, Lukman, Osimhen, Simon, 19 others gear up for Benin and Rwanda. That's the size of the headlines from the Vanguard newspaper this morning. More headlines are still coming on your way on this beautiful Thursday morning. Michael, which of the papers do we have right there?
No, the Nation newspaper.
Okay.
Now let's get to the Nation newspaper on the big story and the front page. As the Trump leads Harris in U.S. poll, that broadcasts have been very hopeful on the election, but the outcome has been confirmed with a lot of expectations, and the president of the United States, 47th, has just emerged, just as we'll be having subsequent interactions on that. Payment for mutual replacement, federal government stops discourse. 11 billion loans given to 90,000 students in 6 months. Omokari, why Atiku's economic revival pill is unworkable. That was on page 3 and page 4. And I really look at the issues of Atiku saying, I would have done this, I would have fixed this. And government are asking Atiku, what were you able to do when you were vice president of the country? What were the reformations? What your own approach to, the many concerns we have in this country? And it looks at his revival pill. Mokori is saying that it's not workable. I mean, it's not workable, and all of that concern. That discharge minors released to Kaduna and Kano governors at Aso Villa. That's it, and issues from the Nation newspaper. I just have been read a very quick few of them, but in all of the concern, we are still having a major issues, and not just about releasing the minors. Ramsey, we had when the president had charged the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs to look at how you can address their issues of their welfare. Because what pushed them out was hunger. What pushed them out, they would tell you, was a hardship. Yes, it might look that people took advantage of the situation to mobilize some of these young ones, to give them the flags and all of that. Because I've also have a belief that they don't understand what it means to host, a foreign flags. They don't even have the intentions of understanding what Russia is all about.
I'm not sure.
They don't even have the finance.
They don't even know the country's flag.
They don't even have they don't even have the finance to print, flags not to talk over. So it looks that yes, people are behind these actions, and there are also a lot of concern that government should go after these ones that looks that they hide under the governance to perpetuate that, because it's not just about coming to arrest the minors, but again and again the minors were able to take. The people took advantage of the minors because they were vulnerable. They were not in classroom.
And that's it.
They were hungry.
What should be done is going after who gave them the flag.
Going after who gave them the flag. Going after who gave them the flag, and also seeing how you can engage these minors. Let them go back to classrooms. Let them be engaged. Let them have what to eat. By that way, because an idle man, they said, sometimes create room for all of those evil penetrations and advantage. So we just have the citizen, the population that we have just needs to be engaged. For us to fight crime in this country, we need to start engaging our population. The growing population that we have are idle, and when someone is idle, the person can accept anything just to be able to
take it. Not just being idle, Michael. The person is idle and the person is hungry. So by the time you give the person food to eat, on that dining table while you are eating, you can conscientize that person and say so many things to that person at that point, and that person will accept. Because at that point, you become a savior to that person.
So it's an issue.
Children are out of school. They don't even have what to eat. You go to the north, you see some of them carrying plates, moving from house to house, looking for what to eat. These are the kind of things the governors should give attention. Out of school children, so that they cannot be used. It doesn't speak well of the people from that region, okay? Especially the governors. Individuals are doing so much to these minors. But then, what are the governors doing? We remember during Jonathan's time, we had something like the Almajiri School, some form of thing. But it's the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is talking about the humanitarian ministry, Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, taking charge. These children need to be rehabilitated after this, should I say, very hard process they've gone through. They should be rehabilitated, conscientized, focused, emotionally stable. Then they can incorporate into the society, fully engaged, or else somebody else will come and take advantage of them again. That is just one. This is just few among thousands, all right, that are out there. Not just in the north, everywhere. We have a lot of people that are out of school that can actually be conscientized because they are vulnerable. All right.
Well, of course, so that's a few headlines coming from the Nation newspaper this morning.
All right, before we take a quick break and make way for the AM news, let's quickly go through the Leadership newspaper, where I have some very interesting headlines. Tinubu governors Akpabio, CDS, Aldersman Lagbaja, Sex Tape, Equatorial Guinea install CCTV in offices. This is to forestall further occurrences of what happened there. And it should be a lesson to every other country, the necessity of CCTV in the office to checkmate the activity of some senior officers who go as far as victimizing their subordinates. Trump shocks critics, return to White House. Some riders to that story. Wins historic election to emerge 57th U.S. President. World leaders seek ties as Tinubu orders congratulate President-elect. Experts speak on implications for Africa and others. What's the implication for Africa and others? Talking about the emergence of the President of the Federal the United States, not Nigeria. All right, let's quickly look at some other headlines. This one says federal government approves redesigning of Abuja-Kaduna Road. Details on page 15. Again, military group kills in Edo State. 10 people are killed in Edo State. That you can get on page 19. Then this one says the farmers decry non-distribution of fertilizer. Non-distribution of fertilizer. These are things that the farmers need to have a crops yield. And what we need in this country is to encourage farming. We need to shift attention from the petroleum sector, the crude that we have. There are other resources that we have in this nation, yet untapped. Then agriculture. We're doing very well before crude actually took the stage. Agriculture was bringing so much into the economy. I think we can go back to that. How do we do that? By calming down these bandits and, of course, kidnappers that go to farm to kidnap people. Elon Musk's wealth rises by $13 billion after Trump's win. That's serious. You can get the details of that on page 6. Elon Musk supported Donald Trump, and we're hearing that his wealth skyrocketed by $13 billion after Trump was declared the winner of the United States. And the picture story has Trump and some of the persons celebrating. Michael, is so good. I think nations of the world, some nations are happy, some other persons are not so excited. If you look at the people, the vote that was casted, majority of the black race in the United States voted for Kamala Harris, both the men and the women. But Trump actually had majority of the whites voting for him. We're just looking forward to what that would translate. It's so good that Kamala Harris is saying be president of all, because in some parts of the world, some persons may take advantage of that situation and may want to tilt their policies towards an angle that may not favor the people who are the black race. But we are not saying the president of the United States of America is going to do that. He's going to be president of all, and other nations of the world, like our president, have congratulated him, Biden, the sitting president of the United States, has congratulated the president-elect. Let's see how Trump is going to perform. This is his second coming. Let's see if it is going to be better than his first tenure, Michael.
A lot of concern, just as we've highlighted. Well, our expert this morning will be also be speaking for the implications this has for Nigeria, the implication it has for Africa. Because when you look at, you just mentioned of issues of racism, but that those will also point fingers to Kamala. You sparked the issues of racism. You're trying to play the racism card. So it looks that he failed in terms of ideology. But there's an issue right there. The American people went beyond, how candidates were too hard on each other. You look at recording the campaigns, they were too hard on each other, the words and all of that.
Just too hard.
The US people went, it wasn't distracting them. It was like, that's people's business. We will vote who we really want. So it looks that, the US elections can never we cannot really exhaust that convention. But this morning we do justice to that interaction. We'll be having an expert, the former Nigerian ambassador, and of course will be joining us on the program. Of course, also another statesman also will be speaking on the US election, the implications for Nigeria, the US-Nigeria's relationship, and what the Donald Trump's victory, what signal really means to the international community. All of that will be what we'll be discussing just on the program this morning. Focus on the United States of America election. Not just that, there are also raises concern on Nigeria's election. It looks that just about 9 days to go, would I say, for the Ondo State election. There are a lot of anticipation. INEC chairman said yesterday, we will announce a result very quickly. And a few days ago, he had stated that the mistakes of Edo will not be repeated in Ondo State. That they learn the lessons, that those that are still watching and seeing how we can get our elections right. Because if we are practicing democracy, elections should be transparent. People should really have confidence on the poll. Just look at yesterday. Kamala Harris have to, concede to defeat by congratulating Donald Trump.
That's the best way.
No one went to court. The litigations and all of that. If you are not happy, go to court. If you feel that you're winning, so. We should get to that moment where we should get to that moment. We should not get. We're really bothered. We just have to get to that moment,
Michael,
please.
Do you know that Nigeria will get to that level very soon?
Well, if you're a prophet, because we had that. I don't know what to say, but we just hope that we get to that level.
We'll get it right.
We'll have to get it right.
We are Nigerians. We are patriotic, and we believe in this nation. We will get it right.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go on a quick break, and that's to pave way for the AM news, which is coming right at the nick of time. We'll return after that break and after the AM news for more discussion. Stay with us.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides, cutting across health, education, infrastructure, economy, and job creation. Imo State in Focus brings you all the highlights of Governor Hope Uzodinma-led administration's impact on the lives of the good people of Imo State. Imo State in Focus, Sunday at 10:30 p.m. West African time on Global Television.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to...
Hello and welcome to Air News here on Global Television. My name is Edikan Michael. We'll go on a break, and once we return from the break, we'll bring you the details on the Air News. Do stay with us. President Bola Tinubu has directed that the national flag must be flown at half-marks throughout the country for 7 days in honor of the departed Army Chief of Army Staff, Labaja. And this was contained in a statement by the Director of Information and Public Relations Office of the Secretary to the State Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume. According to the statement, this directive comes after the date of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Abiodun Labaja, who died after a brief illness. He said that President Tinubu appreciated the services of the departed to the nation, and wished the family the fortitude to bear the great loss. And in the same vein, President Bola Tinubu has ordered the rescheduling of the Federal Executive Council meeting following the demise of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tarid Labaja. The President noted that a new date for the meeting will be announced later. Now, the Federal Executive Council meeting was initially scheduled for yesterday, but had to be postponed in honor of late Labaja, who passed away on Tuesday night. Meanwhile, the First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, has paid a condolence visit to the family of the late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Labaja, accompanied by the wife of the Vice President, Aija Nana Shettima, and the wife of the National Security Advisor, Ajia Ribadu. The First Lady was warmly received by Mrs. Obogo Musa, wife of the Chief of Defense Staff. During the visit, Senator Tinubu offered her prayers and condolences to the grieving family. And our President Tinubu has extended his congratulations to Donald Trump on his re-election as the 47th President of the United States of America. His congratulatory message was conveyed through a statement signed by Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga. President Tinubu expressed his eagerness to strengthen the ties between Nigeria and the United States amid the complex challenges and opportunities of the contemporary world. The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Mohamed Pate, has announced that 45 billion naira has been disbursed directly to primary health care centers across the country through the Basic Health Care Provision Fund. Pate made this statement in Abuja at the ongoing 3-day Nigeria Health Sector-wide Joint Annual Review with the theme "It's for all of us," accelerating the health sector reforms together. He said the Basic Health Care Provision Fund 2.0 reform uses equity and considerations in distributing the financial and human resources to over 8,000 primary healthcare centers through the direct facilities. Now, Vice President Kashim Shettima has reaffirmed Nigeria's commitment to addressing its nutrition challenges through the community-driven strategy and transforming nutrition outcomes across the 774 government areas of the country. Shettima speaking during a meeting with a high-level delegation from the World Bank Group at the Presidential Villa Abuja, presented the 774 initiative which builds on successful outcomes from accelerating the nutrition result in Nigeria project. The World Bank lauded the 774 initiatives a potential model for tackling the malnutrition in the country and across the region. The Vice President, while acknowledging the support of the World Bank and numerous nutrition programs across Nigeria, noted that the 774 initiative comes at a crucial time, considering the accelerating nutrition result in Nigeria project with it approaching its closeout phase. The governor of Ondo State, Lucky Ayedatiwa, has announced that the dualization of Akure-Idanre Road is a top priority of his administration. Governor Ayedatiwa made the statement during his campaign visit to Idanre local government, where he has assured the people of comprehensive development across the council area. Our correspondent Kiko Lumakere has the details.
Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa emphasized that the project will significantly enhance transportation, particularly for investors keen on exploring tourism opportunity in Idanre local government area. He says the dualization of the road will commence from Okearo Junction in Akure to lead to Idanre, adding that the contracting documentation is already being done.
It's one of the projects that is on the front burner of this administration, the dualization of Akure to Idanre. That will further ease transportation for everyone who travel into Akure. Don't forget, Akure is the capital city where we have the airport. The moment they fly into the airport, they can move on a very smooth road. Within 15 minutes, they will be in Idanre. That will definitely boost tourism in the area.
He stated that his administration is committed to improving critical infrastructure, boosting economic activities, and ensuring the welfare of residents through sustained and strategic investments.
Investors to invest in this, and government will also provide the enabling environment, security-wise and every other amenity that will further boost tourism in Idanre.
During a visit to the palace of Owa of Idanre, High Chief Emmanuel Aladetui, the Odunwo of Idanre Kingdom, commended the governor's various developmental accomplishments across the state. The chief, who pledged the community's full support for the governor, says the community needs attention on healthcare facilities, tourism potential, road network, potable water, and boundaries disputes. At the palace of Oba Olakunle Ogunlowo, the Awosoye of Atosin Idanre, the monarch passionately appealed for proper channelization of Owena Dam to make it more beneficial for local residents and called for revamping of Idanre Golf Course, which has potential to boost tourism and economy. Governor Ayedatiwa assured the community that the government will consider their request, emphasizing its administration's commitment to developmental projects that will uplift the entire state. From Akure, Kikelomo Okeri, Global Television News.
Hello, Ekiti State Governor Biodun Oyebaji has appointed Honorable Justice Lekan Akenye as the acting Chief Judge of the state. The appointment of Justice Omoya takes effect from November 5, 2024, replaces the former Chief Judge, Honorable Justice John Oyewole, who passed on November 4, 2024. Governor Sani has promised to rehabilitate and empower the released and bad governance protesters from Kaduna State if they turn a new leaf and become responsible and law-abiding members of the society. Speaking to journalists after the protesters were released, the Secretary to Kaduna State Government, Dr. Abdulkadir Moza, says the governor has asked him to receive the credentials of those who have completed their tertiary education. The Secretary to the State Government, however, said that the government will be tackling the activities and conduct of all 39 of them to ensure that they are of good behavior before these benefits will be extended to them. The Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Police Trust Fund, Mohammed Shaidu, has said that the Nigerian Police College in the Ikeja area of Lagos is among other facilities that are to undergo massive infrastructure upgrade in a no distant time. Recall that the Police College Ikeja was renovated about 6 years ago at the instance of the former President Goodluck Jonathan. Jonathan had directed the Nigerian Army Corps of Engineers to renovate the Police College. Away from other of that news, we'll bring you the more details shortly after this break. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us on the news. And now to business. Let's begin by the Ministers of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kari, and his Science, Technology and Innovation counterpart Uche Naji, as well as the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning Atiku Abubakar, are expected to appear before the House of Representative Committee on Renewable Energy. The committee, chaired by Afam Ogene, is investigating the utilization of over 2 billion investment and grant for the development of the renewable energy sources in Nigeria from 2015 to date. The committee had argued that despite the huge grant and investment in the sector, the power supply in the country has continued to worsen. Kaduna State government plans to spend 93 billion naira in 4 years for the rehabilitation of the water sector in 4 trenches to holistically address the neglect of the past 10 years. The Commissioner of Public Works and Infrastructure, Architect Ibrahim Hamza, whom of these known at the press briefing, disclosed that Governor Obasani has altered the payment of all the standing salaries and wages to staff of Kaduna State Water Corporation amounting to 800 million naira. Electricity distribution companies in Nigeria have announced a rise in the price for various electricity meter models, marking the second price hike in 4 months. According to Discos, the cost of a single phase meter has risen from approximately 117,000 to as much as 149,800 naira. These amounts indicate an increase of 28.3%. Or 32,800 naira, depending on the distribution company and the meter vendor. The House of Representatives has expressed its readiness to engage the tax experts to brief it on the implications of the tax reform bills currently before the National Assembly for consideration. The deputy spokesman of the House, Philip Abeza, disclosed in Abuja President Bola Tinubu and the Federal Executive Council had recently introduced 4 executive bills aimed at streamlining the tax processes and establishing a unified revenue service and simplifying the financial obligations for businesses and citizens. The reforms resulted from the month-long review of existing law tax by the Taiwo Oyedele Committee, which was inaugurated in August 2023. Meanwhile, Senator Lynn Dubai says the tax reform bill of President Bola Tinubu administration is dead on arrival, adding that the Northern leaders were totally against the bill because it was against the North. He said the Northern leaders and the people are totally against the bill, especially the value-added tax bill, because it is against the North. Dubai added that President Tinubu should heed the advice of the National Economic Council and Northern Governors Forum and withdraw the bills immediately, as the president is supposed to reform governance and not impose another tax on Nigerians. United States shares hit record high on Wall Street and dollar posted its biggest gain in 8 years as Donald Trump was re-elected to the White House in a historic win. Bitcoin has also hit an all-time high following Trump's re-election's promise to make the United States the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency capital of the world. Investors are, however, betting that Trump's plan to cut taxes and raise tariffs will push up inflation and reduce the pace of interest rate cuts. On the foreign scene, Donald Trump claimed a magnificent victory over Kamala Harris in the fight for the presidency, as a result put him on the verge of one of the most stunning comebacks in United States political history. The Republican former president addressed a crowd of jubilant supporters said America has given them an unprecedented and powerful mandate.
Well, I want to thank you all very much. This is great. These are our friends. We have thousands of friends on this incredible movement. This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. And frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country, and maybe beyond. And now it's going to reach a new level of importance because we're going to help our country heal. We're going to help our country heal. We have a country that needs help, and it needs help very badly. We're going to fix our borders. We're going to fix everything about our country. And we made history for a reason tonight, and the reason is going to be just that. We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy?
Now of the 7 crucial swing states, Trump won North Carolina, Georgia, and Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and is ahead in the Michigan and Arizona. Britain's Prince William has paid a visit to South African President Cyril Ramaphosa in Cape Town after taking a nature walk with rangers and laid as the Table Mountain National Park. The Prince of Wales is on the 4-day trip to South Africa for the annual award ceremony of his Headshot Prize, which will be held on Wednesday. He will also attend a global wildlife summit and hold the other climate-focused engagements. The president said South Africa is pleased to host this year's Headshot Prize, and was because it highlights the impact that climate change and environmental degradation have in Africa. Now moving from there to sports, former Manchester City player Benjamin Mendy has won his legal case against the club to recover a significant portion of his unpaid salary which had been withheld during his trial on the rape charges. According to report, Mendy, who was eventually acquitted, successfully argued for unauthorized deductions from his wages in an employment tribunal. The case centered on City's decision to hold the Mendy's 500,000 euros a month salary in 2021 following his second arrest. Mendy, who joined Manchester City in 2017 for 49 million euros from Monaco, had been on the full pay after his initial arrest in November 2020. And that's a package on air news coming to you live from the nation's capital. We'll now return to the rest of the program on the Global Morning. You stay with us here on the TV. We'll be right back.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides, cutting across health, education, infrastructure, economy, and job creation. Imo State in Focus brings you all the highlights of Governor Hope Uzodinma-led administration's impact on the lives of the good people of Imo State. Imo State in Focus, Sunday at 10:30 p.m. West African time on Global Television.
Well, on the newspapers, as we I read on, the President Tinubu and other world leaders are congratulating the re-elected President of the United States of America, and what others could describe as an historic comeback. There continue to be a lot of interactions and conversation about that. Joining us this morning is an elder statesman, Dr. Abu Bartolome, who joins us live on the program to x-ray what may be the consideration, the elections, the implications, and what really shares with Nigeria in connectivity to the United States of America's re-election of President Trump. Thanks so much, Doctor, for joining us on the program this morning. How would in one word, how would you describe the election of the United States?
Fantastic.
Why would you say fantastic? Because there are those that are saying it's surprising to them and all of that.
When I say fantastic, I mean fantastic. In his word, in the whole of it, it is fantastic. When you look at the pre-election activities. You look at the activities that went through during the conduct of the election and the aftermath. It's just fantastic. It's just too good for my like.
I mean, because there are those that are really having a concern about the elections in Nigeria and that of the United States. We saw early voting. You know, people, essential workers like the observers, you know, the security agencies, the media, the participants. There were some peculiarities about the election, and we're having a concern. Can Nigeria continue to learn lessons? Are there lessons for Nigeria to see how we can get elections right? We've seen Kamala Harris last night congratulating Donald Trump. Very beautiful. Nobody's heading to court. Nobody's saying if you're hungry, get to the court. It looks so beautiful. Can we get that and jeopardize that in the country, Nigeria?
As a matter of fact, Comrade Mike, Nigeria is not yet prepared for any election. They are not yet prepared for any election. If they are prepared, they know what to do. If they are prepared, they know what to do. Those that were part of the election conduct in the United States of America, could you believe with me that there were some Nigerians among them? Nigerians are right here in the country that can conduct election as much as it took place in the United States of America the day before yesterday, as we all witnessed. But those in the winds of power, would they allow it be? Before election, there is a premonition of what should happen. We saw Trump saying that if he lost, he would concede defeat. Although he had done all he needed to do, but he still said that if he lost, he would concede defeat. That is not the case in Nigeria. In Nigeria, there is already a projection, and the people that are the aims of power. They work towards what they want to get. They work towards expectations. So they don't allow the system to be. They don't allow the system to run. If today we have some patriotic individuals among the bourgeois, among the rulers, among the leaders that we have in this country, that we want to get it right, we'll definitely get it right. Like we saw happen in the United States of America, starting from the day before yesterday, running through yesterday, and as we are today. You know, before election, the parties, the opponents, they were attacking each other. And they understood that that was the rule of the game. During the election, they allowed the election to be smoothly. It went on smoothly. There was no idea of snatching ballot boxes. There was no idea of thugs coming with guns. There was no idea of go to court. Go to court and do whatever you want to do in court. Is it only in Nigeria that there are courts, that there are courtrooms? Are there not courtrooms in America? There are also courtrooms in America, but the Americans, they have worked up themselves to the level that they wouldn't need the courts to waste their time on election matters. That can still happen in Nigeria.
People build those structures in America, and that those that are having a concern. How do we begin to replicate that in the country? We look at the economic issues we're having. That those that feel due to our economic situations, we are too vulnerable to imbibe the mood of the U.S. kind of election. Would you advise, would you say that Nigeria can imbibe the mood of the U.S. election, underscoring the fact that the hardship, the current economic hardship and the situations, corruption in the country may compromise that intentions?
Mr. Mike, how much was spent on beavers? How much was spent on beavers alone? The beavers machine that were deployed in the interest of the Nigerian elections.
Did it not work?
How much was deployed for it? About 500 billion. About 500 billion naira was deployed.
But it was used.
Beavers.
Was it not used for what? But was it not used during the election?
Used for what? When the election, the local government election that just happened in Kogi, they boycotted the beavers.
There are no laws that have compared that states independent to use beavers for their local government elections.
Even if they wouldn't use beavers, and you look at beavers as something that is relevant, that's something that could be used to make us have a credible election, why won't you use it? Why won't you use it? So it is just the idea of the willpower, the mind, the residence of the minds of the people to do the correcting. If we make it up in our mind, economy is not the issue. There is money to put elections right. Like during the time of Babangida. During the time of Babangida, election was free and fair. When Professor Humphrey was led in the conduct of the election, election was free and fair. That led to the emergence of MKO Abiola as the winner. June 12 presidential election in 1993. You were born that time now, and you knew what happened that time. The election that time was credible. But the question was the mind of the chief helmsperson in Nigeria at that time. His projection, he wanted Tofa to win.
So what is hindering Nigeria from imbibing this? Because what is hindering Nigeria from imbibing, the culture of the practice of democracy in the United States?
Greed and self-aggrandizement.
Is it not from the followers too? Because the politicians will tell you the expectation from my followers, the fact that I have to pay school fees for them, I have to do this for them, which are not from, like for instance, the National Assembly members will tell you, my job is make laws, oversight and all of that, but the expectation of my people is much, and that's the reason why I have to go extra mile. Are the followers also contributing to the situation?
No, not the followers. The leaders, they have everything. In some cases, you that you are the follower, you that are the followers, if the leaders now say, okay, do this thing, and you don't want to do it, some of the leaders may take away your life. They may take away your life. That is what we are facing in Nigeria. The leaders have everything. Anything the leaders want to do, that is what they get done. That is what they get done in Nigeria. So the rise and fall in this nation, Nigeria, depends on the leader, solely on the leaders.
I mean, we're looking at the fact that President Tinubu have extended congratulations to the United States. President Donald Trump, would you say we expect so much from them? Just as Nigeria may be expecting much from the president-elect of the country?
Well, extending a congratulatory message to the President-elect of the United States of America, what I would say is, others are doing it, why don't I do it? Why will you do that when you just joined BRICS? BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. These were the foundation members of BRICS. For economic purposes, you went and joined them, thinking you will be able to form a bloc that will be able to compete with NATO. They are daydreaming. America has gone too far. If you are not on the side of America, be prepared for stress. Be prepared for hypertension. The time you don't need it. Penultimate the election. I had, whether I don't know how true it was.
But recently, the United States are faced with inflation. They are faced with all of the insecurity challenges. The president was attacked. That those are feels. It looks at all of those things that were never happening in the United States.
Those ones are not huge. They are not huge issues. They are not huge issues. Like when Trump won the election, the ideas of so many people were what he was going to do to the world, not what he was going to do to the entire America. America has gone so far beyond the expectation of every Tom, Dick, and Harry. When somebody is clenching the position of the chief helmsperson who will go to the White House, they no longer think of what that person will do for America. They think of what that person will do for the whole world. Like if you listened very well to the discourse, what they were saying about Trump is, okay, Trump will be able to settle the war in Ukraine. He will be able to settle the war in the Middle East. They are looking outward to the entire whole world, not America anymore. Contrary-wise, when you think of Nigeria, when there is a president-elect in Nigeria, you think about how he will be able to handle hunger. You think of how he will be able to handle insecurity. You think of how he will be able to handle corruption. This is why there is a wide gap between us, Nigerians, and the United States of America. And it all depends on the willpower of those who are in authority. If we can get some that are patriotic, that think more about the country than themselves, we will soon be there. We will get to a point whereby when somebody is clenching the position of power, we'll be thinking of what that person will do to the whole world, not to Nigeria anymore.
Because those are really having a concern on the kind of leaders we must begin to have. Looking at what the US are always producing, leaders who are probably also basing on the fact that they try to put America first. Looking at Nigeria, the expectations of our leaders, just as you rightly stated, comparing political parties, that those that fuse what we are practicing in Nigeria is not real political, party movement in terms of ideology. The kind of leaders we breed from, political parties. Do you feel that we still can get it right, looking at what may be happening in PDP, happening in Labour Party, happening in APC, and all of that major political parties in Nigeria, which, of course, we do not have a single party as candidate structure in Nigeria. We have to look at the fact that it's a consideration of what is obtainable in getting in respect to getting things right in terms of providing leadership in producing leaders in the country. What is your take and concern about that?
Mr. Mike, that is the problem we have in the Nigerian structure. In Nigeria, when people come to the helm of power, they think of how they can develop themselves. That is one major difference between us and America. America, when America comes up, he will think of how he can develop his own country. Most leaders in Nigeria are egocentric. They are not people-centric. They are not the country-centric. They are egocentric. How they can come and amass wealth and develop cells and look so bogus.
How do we tackle this?
So that people will be afraid of them. But little do they understand that the greater your country, the more protection you have. The more protection you have. In Nigeria, a governor in Nigeria can be richer than the President of the United States of America, when we talk in terms of wealth. But when we talk in terms of protection, power, military might, who are you to stand the US president? About 30 of the Nigerian presidents put together, they cannot stand the US president. Why? Because they have developed their country. Their country is their protection. But what we think about in Nigeria is our wealth is our protection. Yes, that wealth will be relevant as long as you are in Nigeria. But when you step outside the shores of Nigeria, you are as common as every other person. The President of the United States of America, anywhere he goes in this world, the fame is there, the glory is there, the majesty is there. Because they have worked on their country and put their country there. But Nigeria, when we come up, we think on how to develop our persons. We think on how to develop ourselves. We are egocentric. The time we think of being country-centric, that is when we will begin to get it right, Mr. Mike.
Let's come back to the country. I mean, recently the president asked that all the cases be withdrawn from the courts in respect to bad governance protesters, the minors who were arrested, and that those are really having a concern on if he has shown some humanitarian angle in approaching this issue. Can he also reflect this in respect to, the Nigeria state of economy, the Nigeria state of polity, and also looking at the fact that there are many outcry because it looks that it's because people had criticized, the detention and arrest of these minors, and that probably drew his attention to taking that action, which diverges from what the IGP is saying. The IGP is saying, no, these are not minors. What they did in the court was just, a caricature. So, how do we begin to look at that? What's the comment first about that?
I'll say, as a matter of fact, in our course of program, I have been a great critic of the present government. But the step that the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, in person of Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu, has taken has shocked me. I never knew he would be able to take such a decision. It is the right path in the right direction. He surprised me. And this has begun to make me fall in love with the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Most especially when his foot soldiers were saying things contrary, like the prosecuting counsel in court. What he was saying is that he was saying that those people were not minors. Those protesters were not minors, and we have eyes. We are seeing them, men looking at them. You would know that they are minors. And you are coming to say they are not minors. With my two eyes in place and all the features of my eyes in place, my retina duly working, you are coming to tell me that what I'm seeing are not minors. Turning white to become black. And the IGP, the Inspector General of Police, came and said that what happened in court were faked, that they were stage managed, that what happened was not real. You are coming to tell me that these children were not malnourished. When you, by not looking at them, the ribs were already coming out. You are coming to tell me that they were not malnourished? Coming to tell me that this thing, what happened in court was a stage management.
Does the action of the president contradict that?
By far now, if the president would move by what they were saying, he would have emphasized that the case should go on. But there was a swap divergence.
Will you call it a presidential pardon? Will you call it a presidential pardon?
Well, if they want to, but the area I want to talk about is that there was a divergence from the part of the prosecuting counsel and the IGP. The prosecuting counsel and the IGP were saying one thing, and the president was acting another thing entirely. The prosecuting counsel was saying that they were not minors. The president said no.
No, the reason I'm asking that is because that those are few. President might be aware of the fact that President might probably also share the sentiment of the IG, but I decided to go through the human angle in putting this thing to rest.
Not at all.
You feel that
not at all.
The IG's defense does not stand.
What really happened was a passionate reaction to what, or a passionate response to what happened in court.
But that's not the fact.
Not the fact. The president was really sure. He understood. He looked and he was really convinced that they were minors. And apart from that, he has also ordered an investigation into the activities of the policemen that arrested and detained those minors. Oh, didn't you hear it?
Would you feel that the presidency wasn't aware of the arrest?
I mean, he might not. Even if he was aware
the Grand Commander?
If he was aware of their arrest.
You know that there are those that are still being detained in other states.
I'm coming. If he was aware of the arrest, the nitty-gritty from step to step, he might not be aware. If you arrest some people, they are not yet convicted, and they are yet standing trial. and you are torturing them. You are malnourishing them. This is not found in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is why he has ordered a probe into the activities of the law enforcement agent handling it. So, if you ask me a question, I will say that the president did very well by granting them pardon, if you want me to use that word, by letting go the case. It was a sharp divergence from the line of reasoning of the prosecuting counsel and the IGP. And I give kudos to the president for that. And if the president can extend a hand of fellowship in what he has done here to the hardship that people are facing, then he will make us to begin to talk better about him. My own appeal to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is to listen to the cries of the people. The suffering is just too much. Now, the hardship is just too much.
Now that we have
what he has done here can be extended to the area of hardship.
Yeah,
he will be the man of the year.
I think the president have also looked at that angle by reinstating a minister into the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. Those are feels the reason why some approach to humanitarian problems were not tackled was because the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs was in the news for a wrong reason. But now that we have a new minister, things probably might begin to take shape, because he has also ordered that the minors, that the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs also look at what they can do, in assisting these minors that have been released. In looking at the angle of the readiness, the ministers that have been changed, duties rescheduled for some of them.
Mr. Mike, I don't agree with you that what happened to these suspects were as a result of the Minister for Humanitarian Affairs that had not been...
But that ministry was crucial.
No. But if you arrest people, if you arrest somebody and you bring the person to the police and you are keeping the person in the cell, is it the Minister of the Humanitarian Affairs?
No, I'm talking of hardship moving forward in addressing the issues of concern, of hardship, the hunger, because these people were, I don't think they were engaged. I don't think the young minors were engaged. They wouldn't have, been taken advantage of.
Is it the humanitarian ministry that will take care of people? The humanitarian ministry, if there's anything they will do, is highly infinitesimal. It's highly infinitesimal. Fuel is very, very crucial to the well-being of the generality of the citizens.
But they're not going back on that policy.
If they don't go back, fine.
Are you calling for a reversal of the policy? Are you advocating for a reversal of the policy?
Anytime T. At any time T. That is where my mind is.
But the president have explained that, it looks that we can't go back to the old days where people will be looting our resources.
If he makes up his mind not to go back, that does not scrap off our feelings and our aspirations.
But how do we live with the reality of the fact that subsidy is gone?
If subsidy is gone, let it go. We will still live. If God says we should live, we will still live. But
are you resorting to self-help?
What?
Are you resorting to self-help?
Self-help? How do you mean? How do you mean by self-help?
You are saying that you do not have hope again on the government, so you are trying to live based on how you can?
Why not? We will live. We will not die. It is not suffering that kills people. If you go to church, let me take your mind back to when Abraham, drove away Hagar and the small baby Ishmael. They went to the wilderness. Water to drink was an issue. And that young child was going to die. If it were suffering that would kill people, if it were hardship that would kill people, Ishmael wouldn't have been. You could suffer and God will not say, okay, no, you are not going to suffer. And let me take your mind back to this novel you read when you were in secondary school. The girls are not to blame. Written by Ola Orotimi. when there was a king called King Adetusa, the wife gave birth to the wife Ojuola, gave birth to a son called Adewale, and the priest came and prophesied that the child will kill his father and marry the mother. The king said, hey, this is a bad omen. Oh, come, messenger, take him to the forest and kill him there. The messenger took him to the forest. He had compassion on him. Instead of killing him, what did he do? He threw him into the forest and left. A child that was not up to 1 week. He was there until a hunter came and picked him.
What are the lessons for us?
The lesson for us is that hardship does not kill.
But we begin to...
Hardship does not kill. No matter how much you suffer, if God says you are living, you are living. Nothing takes away your life. So the best way to go, let the president have mercy on the citizens.
So all of these reforms he's trying to take, and the fact that he has underscored the importance of where he's taking Nigeria to compared to where we're coming from. He looks at the country he inherited. He's explaining that he inherited a bad economy. He's trying to face it. Are you not seeing in that direction? And Nigerians probably can't picture towards that direction. Or is there no hope at all on the no hope agenda?
If he inherited a bad economy, that does not mean that he should shred the Nigerian citizen into pieces before he governs Nigeria. Where Nigeria was before he came, Nigerians can still come back there. He could fix Nigeria, and another leader that is not like him can still come and run us into ruins. This was not how Nigeria was before the First Republic. This was not, and why we came here was as a result of leaders. We have visionary leaders and we have non-visionary leaders. Take your mind back to 1999, during the Second Republic, when Obasanjo came up. Do you know what he was doing? Can you still remember? He was traveling from one country to another to make them forgive us our debts. And I believe if what I'm saying is right, about $32 billion were forgiven Nigeria. And we started on a clean slate. What took us back here? Leaders. If things had continued on the platform where Obasanjo set us there, and people like Buhari did not come to get us into this mess.
But are those that also disagree with Obasanjo that his policies also and his template wasn't workable for the country?
Even if it was not working, if you give it to
a sustainable plan, developing a sustainable plan for Nigeria to Tinubu saying, I'm trying to develop that plan. We do not have a plan. Yes. We do not have a structure. I'm trying to set up a structure that can take us to the better days for sustainability. Are you not bothered about sustainability?
Structures. People can come.
Because government borrow every time. Buhari borrowed. You know, Jonathan borrowed and all of that. Should we continue borrowing?
We shouldn't continue to borrow.
So how do we solve the problem?
You know what I'm saying? If what the president is doing now can be sustained, good, fine and good. What I'm trying to say is that because of differences in the nature of leaders that we have, what the president is doing now, there are some leaders that may come, because he's not going to be there forever. You know, at most he will be there for 8 years. 1 year is already gone. Almost about 1.5 years is already gone. With about 6.5 years more.
Does it mean that before the 8 years or before the completion of 4 years things will get better?
What?
Does it mean that before the end of 4 years things will get better?
I don't know. But you were aware that the IMF
I was not aware.
Trying to say,
I was not aware.
Discussed it now that all these things that the president is doing before it pays off is about 10 years or 50 years. So that means it will not even pay off while he is there. Then why is trying to strain and stress everybody. If you must do it in bits. It's hitting us too hard. It's hitting us too hard. And if they're hitting us too hard, if the assurance is there that what is building is going to be sustained, then we're not okay. Let all of us tighten our belt. But with the way things have been going in Nigeria, you cannot assure yourself that the structures that will be put in place now would be sustained forever.
The lack of trust from past government, past leaders who probably had promised.
You don't know who may come. You don't know who may come. The next person that may come may not be a visionary leader like Tinubu. And you just discover that what he has done, straining everybody into stress, the person will come and mess it up and take us back to Egypt. You know that the children of Israel were living in Egypt. They came to the wilderness and said, okay, we want to go back. You will not go back to Egypt. That is what we are saying. Here we have the assurance that the structures that are being put in place are sustainable structures, that they can never be disturbed. And that will happen if and only if we are able to work on ourselves. Raise people that are patriotic, that whenever anybody comes there, he will know that yes, these are the structures that have been put in place. Let me be loyal to the structure for the sake of Nigeria and Nigerians. If we are sure of that, no problem. But you cannot be sure, because we know Tinubu. We don't know the next person that may come. We don't know the next person that may come.
But if you are successfully, because there are those that are pointing to the Lagos State government, Lagos State as a template to some of those reformations that he undertook when he was a governor, that if you look at the Lagos today, it is sustainable. You know, the ideas and the vision of the Lagos State is sustainable. And if he's trying to replicate that, but there are those that are questioning the capacity of people that are working with him, the capacity for them to deliver, because it looks like the president can't do the job alone. Do you feel that reshuffling the cabinet was in the direction of getting things and solutions solved?
Look, you can't compare Lagos, that is a state, to the federation.
He had what to show that he has done it before compared to
the power of the federal government is something else. It's extraordinary. It's something else. You know, when you are a governor of a state like in Lagos that is there now, the structures that he had put in place there, if there are people that are coming up and they are trying to doubt on the structures, the people that are readily on ground can raise an eyebrow and shout to the federal government. The federal government has a say on all the states of the federation. But now, what if you set up a structure at the federal level, and another person comes and he begins to change it? Who will you report to? Who will you now say, okay, come and help us? So this is the structure, these are the structures that are on ground, or this person is trying to change it. Who will you cry to? That is what we are talking about. And about the reshufflement of the ministries, of the serving members of the ministry that he has done, if I cannot see any payoff from any area, at least the Minister of State for Health that has been deployed to education, I can laud him over that. You know, Alausa, when he came, the useless policy by Maman, Tahir Maman, the former minister for education, who said that people should go to university if and only if they are 18 years of age. That is a useless policy. He came and he said, okay, the people are not comfortable with this. And as a leader, you must listen to the people. You must listen to the people. When Maman was there, he knew really that on issuing of that policy, people started complaining, including myself. I raised the eyebrow on air here in one of our programs. He did not listen. How won't you listen to the people? Democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And as you are going along, be listening to the people.
All right.
And Tinubu, again, what led to the cabinet reshuffle was that he listened to the people. What he did, he said that what he did had no personal premonition, that he listened to the people. And of course, it was very, very clear in the Ministry of Women Affairs. You know, the workers there were visibly seen jubilating over the ouster of their former boss. So, as a minister, you should listen to the people. When Alao Salam came, he said, no, majority of the people, they are not in tune with the policy. Let me now address this policy. Immediately he changed it. You can see the jubilation.
All right, Dr. Abo, thanks so much. Time will not permit us to exhaust all of that concern, but in a way, it's about, just as he had highlighted, the need for government to pay attention to the voices of the people, which is what is the beauty of democracy. It's an older statement. Thanks so much for sharing your thought and your insight on the program this morning.
You're welcome.
Up next will be the former Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. A whole lot of concern about how we can get things right in respect to our country's relations with the United States of America. We'll bring that discussion shortly after the break. Please stay with us.
Welcome to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
We struggled as a strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Get in on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides, cutting across health, education, infrastructure, economy, and job creation. Imo State in Focus brings you all the highlights of Governor Hope Uzodinma-led administration's impact on the lives of the good people of Imo State. Imo State in Focus, Sunday at 10:30 p.m. West African time on Global Television.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bonds, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides, cutting across health, education, infrastructure, economy, and job creation. Imo State in Focus brings you all the highlights of Governor Hope Uzodinma-led administration's impact on the lives of the good people of Imo State. Imo State in Focus, Sunday at 10:30 p.m. West African time on Global Television.
United States of America still continues. He is the 47th president-elect of the United States of America. A lot of reactions coming from his re-election. Well, the black race in the United States have voted. The people, the citizens of United States have also voted. Leaders around the world have called to congratulate Donald Trump as the president-elect of the United States of America. For every nation, there is something, all right, they are looking out for, probably from the United States. The United States is a world power, world economy, and of course, when elections happen in the United States, a lot of people look forward to that election. No wonder the atmosphere in most of the countries, including Nigeria, was stirred throughout the period of the election, beginning from the campaign. From the period, Biden stepped down to make way for Kamala Harris, as the person contesting with Donald Trump. A lot of reactions has been coming, and today we want to look at his re-election, talking about Donald Trump as the 47th president of the United States of America. What do you think is the implication for Nigeria as a country? Not just Nigeria, but other African countries and other nations of the world. Well, we are going straight to the conversation we have right here. Ambassador Dr. Martin Ohumobi. He's the former permanent secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That's not all. He is also the former Under-Secretary General of the United Nations. And he is currently the president and founder of Pan-African Institute for Global Affairs and Strategy. And it's good to have you in the studio today. Good morning once again, Ambassador.
Good morning, Ramsey. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm so excited to see you once again, because the last time we met, we're talking about the U.S. election, and you spoke about the atmosphere, the preparation, what happened before now. Kamala Harris is not the first woman contesting for the seat of the United States president, and you advanced some reasons and you said so many things. Now Donald Trump has emerged as the president of the United States of America. Are you surprised to see that?
Well, thank you very much, Ramsey, for inviting me for this very interesting and exciting interview on what has just transpired in the United States of America. And rightly so, because America is a global power. And so what goes on there has implications and meanings for the rest of the world. So it is right that we should talk about it. And Nigeria, of course, being a prominent African global actor, also deserves to be interested in what has just happened in the United States. So this is quite apt and fitting that we should have a conversation on this morning. Indeed, the last time we spoke, we talked about this. And I don't think I have ever been in any illusion about the outcome, what the outcome would be. Because I'm not just a scholar, but I'm also a scholar diplomat. And I've read a bit of history, and I know the history of many nations in the world. So I can almost, without being a prophet, tell you how it would be. And I saw this coming. The signs were there. And it is to be expected because of both the time and also the context in which the elections took place. So yes, Nigeria should be interested in what has happened, and we are interested because, as I said, America is the leading global power, a superpower since the Second World War, one of the key founders of the United Nations, the #1 economy in the world, the #1 economy on the global stage, a military superpower, and she vanquished and became almost a unipolar world under its guardianship since the collapse of the Cold War. So it is a huge country, and what has happened is important. But let me also tell you that you are who you say you are. The fact that that has happened does not mean that you are less than who you are as other actors, 192 countries that make up the United Nations. America is just one of them. So we must recognize the importance, yes, objectively, but also recognize that you are who you say you are. Even if you are a cleaner in a house and you clean your job well and your master does not recognize you, when you leave that place, he will feel your impact. So Nigeria must look at its own national interests and say what has just transpired, how does it fit into our national interest? And Nigeria's national interest is exclusively Nigerian, although it has implications for the rest of the world as well. So we are glad at what has happened in the United States. It didn't surprise many of us who are pragmatists and who are realists. We knew it would happen that way. Many of my friends are very sad that it happened that way, but I am not. It's not about me being sad or being happy. I'm happy because it turned out the way I speculated that it would happen, because I understand the history of the country in question.
All right, thank you very much, Ambassador. Now, let's talk about this. Apart from you being a permanent secretary, former permanent secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You were also an Under-Secretary General of the United Nations. Nigeria, as it is, looking forward to so many things. Membership of the Security Council, you know, and so many other things. And one very important thing that has happened is the fact that the president of Nigeria didn't hold it back. He didn't hold his excitement. He had to congratulate the president-elect of the United States of America. Does that speak volume?
No, many nations, many presidents all over the world have congratulated Donald Trump for his victory. And that is only diplomatically correct. It's only apt and appropriate that should be done. So there's nothing extraordinary or exceptional about it. But the question is, what is in it for Nigeria? Donald Trump is fairly, I like him for one thing, because I think he's very blunt and he's very straightforward. He tells it to you as the way he thinks he should say it. You don't have to agree with him or not, but you know where he stands on issues. Very clear. So ambivalence, duplicity, all those kind of games are not part of it. America first. Nigeria first. Yes. What do you think about yourself? Were you made less than others by God who made the heaven and earth? Why is your mind subservient and subjugated? And think that, oh, if somebody doesn't like what I'm doing, therefore. No. What is in it? What is your own national interest? Prioritize your national interest in the conduct of your external relations. So we are not going to be, we should not be sentimental or emotional about these matters. What is in it for Nigeria at this time? What can Nigeria get from a Donald Trump administration? I think that is what is important. One thing that perhaps you can think of without any doubt is that you'll be told who you are. You'll be told by him who you are.
So Donald Trump probably may come up to tell Nigerians who they are.
Of course. That's who he is. He will say it as it is. He received a former Nigerian president and told him what he felt about him. So he will tell you who you are. So I think that is the game. So now come to it yourself. Who do you say you are? Who do Nigerians say they are? Others will tell you who you are. You are not that, and you take that for what they say you are, not what you think you are. So I think we have to be realistic as Nigeria in our foreign policy pursuits, in what we do and how we relate to the external world. We must prioritize our national interests. We must recognize that God did not make us less than others, and in fact we are a privileged people, one of the most resourced and endowed nations in the world. Look at what Nigerians achieve everywhere in the world they go to, except in their own country. Isn't that a food for thought? The richest, the most populous black nation on earth, who designed that? Who made that? The creator of heaven and earth did that. One of the most resourced countries on earth is Nigeria. Where you are strategically located in the map of Africa, look at it as a trigger point. So, but what do you say you are? And I think that's where the major flaw in us have always been. We must be grateful for whom we are. We must recognize who we are, and we must devote our potentials and energy to ensure that we are where we want to be as one of the leading nations on the earth. Where we were in 1960, is that where we are today in Nigeria?
Well, looking at the U.S. election, because we're actually referring to that, you are beginning to spell out one or two implications that probably from what you're saying right now, it's obvious that the U.S., the impact, the implication of this election might not be too impactful until Nigeria discover who they are.
Until you discover who you are and what your priorities are, nobody will regard you as anything on earth. Tafawa Balewa visited the United States in 1961 or 1962. He was received at the airport by the president of that country. He was there for 7 days on a state visit. Who will receive your president today when you go to the United States? Please answer the question. The way you were looked at in 1960, that in terms of external relations, that the way you are looked at today. What has happened? How can that change? What made it to happen that way? These are foods for thought.
Oh, okay, as it is.
Dear Brutus, it's not in our stars. It's in ourselves that we are underlings.
Now, how would you juxtapose the elections in Nigeria and that of the United States, as a matter of fact? Because one of the things that we're talking about this today, one of the major things should be the take-homes from the election, because, like you said, the United States is a global power. And as it is, so many things should be learned from the election. Apart from just calling to congratulate the president, we should also have some take-homes. So what do you think? How would you juxtapose the elections in Nigeria and that one that just happened in the United States?
Americans voted freely and fairly, and they voted the way they thought they wanted to vote. I didn't see anything that was not transparent in the electoral process, I must admit. But they also identified what was good for them and voted the way they thought they wanted to vote, not the way others want them to vote. So, take away from Nigeria, in my own thinking, is that we should trust our people. And our people should be allowed to exercise their right, their freedom, in the way that they want to do so. Not bought for 10,000 naira, not cajoled, not violently mitigated from pursuing a cause that they want to pursue, and not allowing others to sway your views, but using your vote to express your own interest, and your vote being allowed to determine the outcome of the election. And I think this played out in the United States that we have just seen. Americans wanted Trump in the majority, and they did. They got in Trump. They didn't want, you could see it was a narrow win. But their majority opinion, majority vote, freely expressed and determined, prevailed. So that should be something that we should do, and we can do it if we don't allow other considerations to mitigate our perspectives.
Talking about the vote now, you know, there was a statistics I saw somewhere on the internet that was pointing to the fact that a lot of Africans, a lot of blacks in the United States actually voted for Kamala Harris, especially the male. The statistics for the male was almost 90%. Then you talk about the female too. Then the whites, the citizens of United States, voted for Donald Trump. And if you look at their campaign period, you can see that most of their campaign promises was somehow tilted to for Kamala Harris, what she will be legalizing and all of that. Now, does that speak or point to any fact that there might be issue of racism in the administration of Donald Trump?
That goes without saying. The race, the majority of the population of the United States are white people, are white. And Kamala Harris is not white. I don't know what white means in that definition. I'm not black. And I've not seen anybody who is as white as this. This is white. But they call themselves white, so be it. But they are in the majority, if you think about it. The conservatives are in the majority. The Americans who are white own the land. They are in majority. The other minorities are also there. So if they are going to vote according to their race, and that happens most of the time, it was clear to me that that a white man, for that matter, would win. And America has not yet come up with the realization that women, gender equality, all the English you are speaking around gender, this. No.
But these things are not copied from there.
Hillary Clinton was white. But she was a woman, so she had the majority of the popular vote, but she lost.
But this gender message is something that is been, I think it's more there, because you see a lot of NGOs coming from the Western world talk about gender equality, the girl-child right, and all of that. So why is it not practiced?
There's something in Nigeria called grammar. You are listening to grammar. What you have seen is that the society does not want a female American They showed it in Hillary Clinton. They have demonstrated it again now. One of the factors, apart from race, is gender against Kamala Harris. And they showed it that we want a male to be there. So you can't. That's their value. But if you will buy it and you say that that's what we want to become, so be it. But we are not that way, if you ask me. The Aba Women's Riot of 1929, women led it in Nigeria. And you can look at so many heroes in our history who are women. And they are the last straw in our society. The Alake of Abeokuta, for example, the Oba of Benin will run out of the throne if the women in Edo ran out and came out naked. That is veto power for women. So our society really is not against women. We have respect for our mothers. We love our women. And they have almost veto power when it comes to determining who will stay at the Alake of Abeokuta or somewhere. Yeah, it happens. The Aba women riots in 1929 in Aba that almost chased the British out of eastern Nigeria were led by women. So our women are powerful women, and we have always recognized them. So we don't need any semantics or grammar from outside to tell us that women will be treated equally. We treat them equally. That's not to say that it is perfect. That's not to say that our society is perfect. That's not to say that there is no need for greater gender recognition. But allowing it to be bastardized and used as a weapon to indoctrinate you or to try to tell you that we have to learn from us, there's no lesson to be learned from those who teach those lessons here.
All right, there's no lesson to be learned from those who teach those lessons here, because a lot of things have been copied from the European world. Today, you even look at our younger ones, the youth, you see them sagging, doing so many things that they copy from the outside world. That's by the way. Now let's talk about, you were talking about gender equality, and you were trying to tell us how respected the female gender is in this country. Is there any possibility that we can have a female president in Nigeria someday? Talking about, I'm just trying to connect this with your expression of how the female gender is being held at a high esteem in Nigeria.
I definitely hope that it will happen someday. The prospects are not so clear even for now, because you can't even really tell me who will be the next president of Nigeria, whether man or woman. So how can you talk about female or male? So really for us here, I don't think the issue here is gender, is as gender biased as we have in the country that we are discussing. If you have a woman, we want to see our mothers. Look at the way our mothers are treated, for God's sake. You know that. When your mama speaks to you, Ramsey, you know what it is.
Yeah, sure.
And you know that ultimately, she has your love more than anything else. And she cannot compromise that for anything. You people who come from your mother's place, we have a saying in my culture, among the Eastern people, that if you are threatened anywhere in the world, and you run to your mother's village, whoever that enemy is has to clear everybody in the village first before they reach you. That is to say that the mother and the support of the mother, who did Christ give the world to before he left? Gave it to the mother. For us Christians. John, behold your mother, mother, behold your son. And from that moment, Mama took them home. So we must learn to recognize that our mothers are precious. And women have a capacity to do good if given the opportunity to do so. And that's really not our problem as Nigerians or as Africans. What we have to learn, talking about lessons, what we must learn from the election that just takes place is that let the people decide who their president should be, not cabals. That's one lesson. 2, we must have our national interest. For Donald Trump, America first. I'm not saying other countries don't say America first. Other presidents have done that too, like before Donald Trump. But Donald Trump has the courage, the gusto, and the transparency to say it out. It should be Nigeria first.
So these are the things we should copy.
I'm telling you, what is the Nigerianness in the president of Nigeria? What is the Nigerianness in the diplomat of Nigeria? What is the Nigerianness? What is Nigerian centricity? What does it teach you to be? You say you are a Nigerian, but you would discard Nigeria when it comes to it. Is that Nigerianness? No.
All right.
Those are the two lessons I wanted to learn.
Well, that's it. I wanted asking that question because I was actually trying to ask, what do you think we should copy from the U.S. election? Like you've talked about the free and fair, allowing the people to choose who they want. But then the INEC, which is the body responsible for election in Nigeria, have said, well, we've learned our lessons from what happened in Edo State. So the election coming up, the off-cycle election coming up in Ondo State, it's going to be better. That's what the INEC chairman said. I'm actually linking this because he just talked about what we should learn from the U.S. election. Having said that, don't you think the electoral body in Nigeria is trying to take its place? Because before now, a lot of persons have castigated the electoral body in different ways. Learning from the U.S. election and coming to hear that the INEC chairman is saying, well, we've learned our lessons. Don't you think we are a country in progress at its heart to do with free, fair election, logistic management issues not to be there during elections?
Well, I hope that we have indeed learned some lessons from that, the transparency and the predictability, the openness of the process, and that all of us, even as INEC, will say that by themselves. I hope they have. It will be in our interest to learn some lessons and to be transparent and to run our business. I've just come from politics, so I'm very circumspect when I speak about this. But I really, really hope that we take ourselves seriously, and I really, really hope that the process will be transparent in our country. But it's a long journey.
All right, come January 20th, the 47th president of the United States will assume office. Now, what do you think is the expectation, or should be the expectations of the world, not just United States right now, but then, because we will always refer to them as global power, okay, and you know, their economic stand and their influence to other nations. Like some persons are saying, well, the war situations in some countries and a whole lot of other things will be looked at. But then, what do you think should be the expectation of the world from Donald Trump in assumption of office at the Washington, D.C.?
Well, Donald Trump has been very explicit with what he wants to do on the issue of migration, on the issue of, what do you call it now? I'm talking about how he wants to treat migrants who are there illegally. He wants to ensure their deportation and ensure that American borders are secure and free from irregular migrants. He also, people are expecting from him that he will, of course, prioritize American interest in everything that he does. What many people, as you also indicated, we're in a troubled world now that we have never, more than we have ever seen before. In fact, some people would even dare to say that we are on the precipice of a third world war. If you take into account what is happening in the Middle East, the Gaza war, the endless war in Gaza that has now progressed, for want of a better term, into Lebanon, the involvement of Iran, the implications of that for Israel and for the United States, the relationship between North Korea and the Russian Federation, where about 10,000 North Korean troops are now in Russia. I don't know what further evidence you need that we are on a precipice. So where does Trump come in this circle? I think you must recognize that all governments on earth have two faces. There's the face you see and the face you do not see. The face you see is the one that talks about what you people want to hear. The face you don't see is what projects, promotes, and defends what its own national interest is and the strategy for realizing those interests. So, as I said, the most constant thing in relationship and in expectations is what you can identify as the national interest, both of the victim, in quote, and both of the perpetrator. So, what will be important is not really what America will do is important, but what do you want to do yourself, and how can you realize your interest? That is the most important. For the United States, I do not really expect any radical revolution in terms of policy. In substance, America will be America. But how will you respond to the strategy that may be adopted to achieve that essential interest that defines America? I think that is really critical.
All right. Thank you very much.
Have I answered your question?
You in fact, beyond. You've even gone beyond answering it. Our time is not on our side. I would have loved us to talk more. But then, finally, before I let you go, we're talking about leadership here. And you have actually talked about the U.S. leadership, and you have linked it with the Nigerian leadership. But as it is right now, how would you compare Nigerian leaders to that of the USA? Because as a matter of fact, the United States of America, okay, we can't take it away from them that they have it running smoothly to an extent. So how would you compare the Nigerian leaders, okay, with the American leaders, and who should do and who should not do?
My greatest burden as a TV person now is I happen to be a historian. We all know the history of leaders in Nigeria since 1960, from Prime Minister Tafawa Balewa until the present leader. One factor that comes out in looking at Nigeria's political history is the leadership selection process. And that's what determines who the leader is. If you have a fundamentally flawed leadership selection process, not just at the level of prime minister or president, even in a workshop, is excellence, is merit, the yardstick for determining leader? Those who love your continent very well, they ensure that the leadership selection process is under their control and under their constant watch to ensure that you never put your best foot forward. And any nation that does not put its best foot forward will never win in the fight. So reflect on that yourself, Ramsey, as a scholar and as a journalist. So long as the leadership selection process in Africa generally, not just Nigeria, is not determined exclusively by Africans, but through proxy manipulators of the game here, the answer is clear. Thank you.
All right, well, this is the much we will be taking from this discussion. As a matter of fact, this is it for Africa and this is it for Nigeria. You need to look inwards first, put your home right, do what you need to do internally before you begin to look outside. What is it? What is the take home from the US election? What are Nigerians and the whole world, including Africa, looking forward to as Donald Trump assumed office in January at Washington, D.C.? It's been a very wonderful time having a former Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and, of course, former Under Secretary General of the United Nations right here on the program to join us in the conversation today. It's been a very wonderful time. Thank you for adding your voice to the conversation, Ambassador.
Thank you very much, Ramsey, and I look forward to seeing you again sometime.
All right, it's good to have you. That's going to be the size of the conversation this morning. And of course, this is the size of Global Morning for today. We'll come on your way again tomorrow morning. But then remember that many programs are lined up for you throughout the day on Global Television. Thanks for staying with us. Bye-bye for now. My name is Ramsey Enoch.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission for
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle with ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said,